as we can see, this supersedes everything
Oh,
for
yeah.
the MAGA movement.
Oh, forget
This
it.
is seminal. This is the Bible. This
Yes.
is the Bible for people in that movement.
More than even the
Uh,
2020, like more than anything, I would
more
say.
than anything. More than
Yeah.
anything. So here's Gunther Eagleman. You can do both. Be angry that people who assaulted innocent children on an island walked free and still support President Trump at the same time. I do.
I mean, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
No, but wait. So then, he got so mocked for that, including by the Due Dissidence account. He tried another tack right after.
What did I say?
Democrats are the party of
Yeah.
fans of the playground. He goes in that direction. So our friend Blakely replied, and that's why Trump won't release the Epstein files. Wait. And Adam, this is you right now with Pepe the Frog crying. Copium. Yes. Copious amounts of copium. Scott Adams, I gotta say, man, he probably wins the award for best effort to try to spin this. Now, I don't get this, man. You're some racist cracker who's gonna be dead by the end of the summer. Aren't you afraid that you're gonna be put in a hell where you can't get away from those people? Like, aren't you afraid with the end coming that maybe you shouldn't be such a scurrilous scumbag? I guess he's not worried about eternal damnation, at least not for covering for fans of the playground.
Yeah, and just so people know what you mean, because it wasn't that widely reported, but it got out there at the time. He basically called black people a hate group because they would rather live amongst themselves than around white people. So he said that's a hate group, and he said white people should basically segregate from black people.
Well, he said the only thing you can do is get away.
Right.
Like he said, basically, you have to get away from black people.
Right, because they're a hate group.
Yeah. Yes. So he says here, this is very, very, really points for creativity. If you see the Epstein story as a crime story, which of course it is, you probably favor maximum disclosure of everyone and everything involved, including innocent people, like a typical court case. Well, no, nobody thought that the victims should be revealed. Nobody thought that. Absolutely nobody. If you see the Epstein story as something bigger, involving more than one nation, like Israel, you might see it as a commander-in-chief issue, meaning the public is not meant to have the full story, similar to most national defense issues. We elect a president to decide, in part, what the public can safely see. Would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would derail a peace negotiation? Would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would end Republican control of Congress and plunge the country back into a Democrat open border hellscape? If you can't say what you would give up to get the full Epstein disclosure you crave, you're not a serious person. That's an incredible cap to this contention.
Amazing.
To claim that other people are not serious. So basically you're saying this is a national security issue, which is a long way to conceding that Jeffrey Epstein was an op involved in intelligence services. Otherwise, why would just a private pedo on a private island be a national security issue? The only way that could be a national security issue is if the worst that people say is true, that this is an op run by the Mossad, that he was an asset. That's why he was able to get away with this so long. But you're saying, well, maybe this shouldn't be revealed. What are you suggesting? That it might blow up peace negotiations with Hamas and Israel? Just vaguely. But his general contention is, yes, this might be, involved with international geopolitics. And then basically saying, okay, well, why would it end Republican control of Congress unless they're in it? Well, right. So I thought you people were so morally outraged about the Democrats not releasing it on the premise that they're probably not releasing it because they're in it. But you're saying it's okay not to release it if the Republicans are in it, if that means that the Democrats are going to take over? What a fucking clown. What a clown. This guy cannot get off the planet fast enough. He said by the end of the summer, so hopefully that is correct. Hopefully there aren't any miracle cures out there.
He says here, would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would end Republican control of Congress? Well, not disclosing them is likely to end Republican control of Congress, so it doesn't even make any sense in that respect. Also, when you look at this, if you say, well, would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would end Republican control of Congress and plunge the country back into a Democrat hellscape? What you're basically saying is you shouldn't take issue with anything Trump does because that weakens the Republican Party and that emboldens the Democrats. So by that logic,
Well, that's just, that's the road to just absolute partisanship, which at that point you're a non-player character. You're not a thinking person. You're not a rational person. If it's vote red no matter who. Right. Doesn't matter if they're involved in criminal trafficking of persons, right? You don't want the Democrats to win, do you? I mean, that's a typical Democrat argument. It doesn't matter what Joe Biden might have done. It doesn't matter if he was working with segregationists, that he's the author of the carceral state. You don't want Republicans to win, do you? But Alex Jones, probably the smartest grifter in Griftland. He really, it's funny, like you can watch him trying to find the zone where he is least likely to lose any subscribers or patrons, right? You can watch him working through that in real time. So that's kind of what he's doing here.
As you know, I just call balls and strikes.
Yeah.
And after years of saying they will release the Epstein file or list, suddenly they're not going to, and we're told it doesn't exist. But then Trump comes out last night and says, well, it does exist, but the Democrats had control of it, manipulated it, which is actually true. They've had control, but they would destroy anything they didn't want in there and leave what they wanted in there that their investigators could plant. So people say, well, then whose side are you on? This is a giant fiasco. I'm trying to call balls and strikes. I'm trying to look at every angle of this and understand what's happening, understand why the Trump administration did a 180 the last few months, and particularly the last week, and did this, and then blames loyal supporters who support the overall agenda as being traitorous for doing this. Now, we all know what triggered this. It was Elon 2 months ago saying, look, Trump's in the list, and that big breakup there, and then Trump wants it closed. He wants it shut down, which looks extremely incriminating. But from all of my deep research, never saw Trump involved in any illegal activity with Jeffrey Epstein. So we are simply here tracking.
So did that research at all involve the copious amounts of video of Trump partying with Epstein? Reporter Michael Wolff claiming to have seen the photos himself, all of Trump's very creepy comments about his own daughter, about going backstage at his own beauty pageants where the contestants generally would have been teen girls. Did your research involve any of that? See, this is what I mean. On the what he's backing up Trump's play here while trying to pretend to be neutral.
Well, he's actually taking that seriously.
I hadn't thought of that. The Democrats had control of the file, so obviously they would have taken Bill Clinton out of it, and they would have just there wouldn't have been any real Trump stuff, because in my deep investigations I found that don't worry, I'm not turning on Daddy. Don't unsubscribe.
This case, not choosing a side, not wanting to make things be what we want them to be, but simply looking at the facts. But I dropped the ball. I didn't even think about the fact. I'm like, oh yeah, if they've had the list and they've had the files for years, the Democrats would take stuff out, destroy it. Well, that's obvious. They would leave in and twist and put in what they wanted. They have a long history of false documents, reports, Crossfire Hurricane, the list goes on and on. January 6th. So we've got to investigate this. We've got to keep open minds about this on all angles But this is the big story, and this has put the Trump administration into a mega massive crisis. And Trump at press conferences and the rest of it saying, don't ask questions, triggers the ultimate Streisand effect and is insane. So I don't.
See, it's really just an error in public relations. They've triggered a Streisand effect, which suggests an undue interest in the subject in the attempt to deflect interest from the subject. They've just mismanaged the communications. That's all it is. Because Alex, in his deep research, has found that Trump's not in those files. And yeah, the Democrats doctored them, but chose not to release those doctored files when they could have. Just kind of left them there.
Well, this is part of what has kept this grift alive for so long is when you have sycophants like this with the kind of influence and reach that a guy like Alex Jones has, you can just make up the craziest shit and they'll just run with it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
no, the Democrats doctored the list, so that's why it's not worth putting out there. Well,
Right.
yeah, that's true.
Well,
they did.
Well, that's their job.
Yeah.
That's their job. Just to create these just so stories that just fit the narrative that they need to fit, because the people consuming their product, I'm sorry, man, if you watch that guy and you take him seriously, well, you're probably going to be somebody that a guy like that can manipulate. I'm sorry. Like, you're not going to what this guy talk about. Yeah, well, you know, I call balls and strikes and be like, yeah, I'm getting the truth.
Yeah, this is balls and strikes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he's right. The audience that he has, he could pretty much say anything. So Matt Walsh here, and this is what's really going to cause a problem for Trump. You know, the ones with more self-respect, they're not buying it, or at least the ones that feel they can cross Trump and still have a career. Now, he soft pedals it a little bit, but not like Alex Jones. The Attorney General said she had the client list on her desk. The White House made a big show of giving binders marked Epstein Files Phase 1 to a bunch of influencers. Now they tell us that there is no list and we should stop talking about it. Well, then why did you say there was a list? Why did you pull that stunt with the influencers? Why did you call it Phase 1? Obviously implying that there were more phases to come. If you claim that all of this seems normal, above board, and honest, you're being extremely obtuse. We're Americans. We don't accept obvious bullshit from our political leaders, and we don't move on from a topic just because we've been instructed to do so. So he starts out doing the Bondi thing, but clearly that's a reference to Trump's post there. And we'll see later, you're going to cover Tucker's appearance, where he says that even more directly. Like, none of them just want to say, fuck this guy. But that's as close as you're going to get from people on the right, at least so far. Now, we didn't want to get too deep into this because it's an evolving situation, and probably anything we say about it tonight is going to be obsolete tomorrow. There is a lot of talk that Bongino has quit. This is Dominic Trippi, DC insiders say he's already quit, while the administration maintains he's still in the role of deputy director. Emily Jashinsky quote tweeted it saying, "This isn't just gossip. As of right now, it appears Bongino is on his way out, though one source cautioned people's minds can always change." Now, I got to say, the longer we go without Bongino posting anything, knocking this down, the more it looks like he probably decided he'd rather save his reputation than his job at the FBI. He seems to recognize that this is a sinking ship, and the people who stick with this, it's probably not going to be good for them in the long run, and I think that's the right bet. Kash Patel, who is also rumored to be about to resign, not surprisingly to anyone who's paid attention to his career, knocked down those rumors. The conspiracy theories just aren't true. Never have been. It's an honor to serve the President of the United States. and I'll continue to do so for as long as he calls on me. Now, this is really shocking. This is really shocking that the guy who wrote a children's book about Donald Trump took that stand. Now, our newest member of the team, Gen X girl here, responded to this. So you're either a conspiracy grifter or a liar. Which is it, Cash? And this is from the Economic Times. Prior to his appointment as FBI director in February 2025, Kash Patel was a prominent voice calling for the release of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, often accusing federal agencies of shielding the elite implicated in the case. But he was also the guy who wrote a book about King Donald being attacked by his enemies who needed protection from Kash Patel, who cast himself as a wizard.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people, when this administration was coming in and these people were being named for reasons that we were never able to understand, looked at this crazy-eyed motherfucker, this author of fawning children's books about the object of his affection, Donald Trump, and somehow thought that he was going to go into the FBI and clean house rather than to simply do whatever he's told by his God King. He literally wrote a children's book casting this slob, this casino owner, this failed steak salesman as the king and the savior of the nation. Look at the eyes. Why would anyone have trusted this man? So it shouldn't be any surprise that all Trump had to do was say, yeah, back off the Epstein files.
That's it.
And he's off it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. And so, the other thing I would say is, as a guy who reads children's books to my kids, a lot of these children's books can have a, resale life decades later, you know, Cat in the Hat.
There are 3 of them now.
Yeah. So, this is a long-term investment for him. He doesn't want to burn that relationship with Donald Trump. He wants history to write that he remained in the good graces of the king for long enough to keep selling all of these children's books. The Cat in the Hat still makes a lot of coin decades later. Kash Patel could be the next Dr. Seuss.
It's true.
Next Dr. Seuss.
It could be the next J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Yeah. One fish, two fish, red fish, Jew fish.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty remarkable. And, to see Alex Jones go up there and say, well, yeah, come to think of it, he's actually right about it.
I dropped the ball. I didn't think about that.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. No,
I didn't think about how the Democrats altered the files and then mysteriously decided not to release them when they could have.
Yeah, no, it's pathetic. And as we've said over and over again, this is a core pillar of MAGA philosophy. There's no way to come out of this politically intact. Intact meaning with the same support you had going in. It's a massive net loss. And as we'll see in the next segment, the Democrats are poised to jump on this if they want to, if they have the balls to, which we'll